And welcome to the Township Whitewater Region's regular council meeting for today, Wednesday, December 3rd. It's 1 p.m. and we're going to call ourselves to order. And I'll just recognize, I don't know if the video that folks may be watching or will watch later will note, but we have a full chamber today. It's an awesome opportunity for the public to participate, and we thank you for your attendance today. First, next item on the agenda is our national anthem. If I can get folks to please stand, remove your headdress if you have it, and face the flag, please. Excellent. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is our land acknowledgement. I've asked the Deputy Mayor to give us the land acknowledgement today.
Thank you, Mayor. As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of the Township of Whitewater Region and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We thank the Algonquin people and express the respect and support of their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of Indigenous people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Thank you, Mayor.
Good. Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of our agenda. Good. For December 3rd. Our recommendation is the Council of Township Whitewater Region approve the December 3rd, 2025 agenda. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Olmsted. Is there any member of Council who wishes to make an amendment to the agenda? Okay, I see none. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's unanimous. Next item is the adoption of some previous minutes, the November 18th minutes, special council meeting. The recommendation is the Council of Township Whitewater Region approve the November 18th, 2025 minutes. A mover and a seconder, please. So moved by Councillor Tabbert, seconded by Councillor Trim. Is there any errors or omissions noted in the minutes? Yes, Councillor White. I'm sorry. Thank you. Right, and I was supposed to do it at the start, and I've got it in my mayor's address. My apologies. So I just want to highlight at this point in time, Councillor White has a name change, and you'll see it reflected in her name thing that's on her desk there, and I will be corrected probably numerous times. So good, thank you for catching that. Good. So I'll just go back to the questions just to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Any errors or omissions in those minutes? Good. I see none. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's unanimous. Thank you. No committees or boards minutes were attached for information. And that leads us into the next item, the disclosure. Is there any disclosures by any member of council for any of the items on our agenda today? Excellent. I see no disclosures, and I'll just publicly remark, we know that Councillor Bell will be joining us shortly. We'll just ask the clerk to remind me to confirm his disclosure when he arrives. Excellent, and that leads next into our presentations. And today, I'm assuming that there's a lot of people here today specifically for the presentation, is our delegation, I believe, regarding land acknowledgements. Perfect. I want to remind everybody that these delegations are an opportunity for council to receive information and perspectives from the community. And it's not a debate or a decision-making process or session at this time. Our role today from a council perspective is to listen and ensure that the comments provided are part of the public record. And I would like to now invite Mrs. Burns to the podium. You will have 10 minutes and you can start as soon as you're ready. Thank you.
Okay, just before I start though, don't start counting yet. I'm going to hand this out to you. It's because I only have 10 minutes, I'm going to give you this presentation so you can read afterwards, because I don't want to read this real fast and it go beyond your head.
And don't worry, Ms. Burns, we're not going to start the timer until things get organized here. So this
Okay, and it may go 2 or 3 minutes past the 10 minutes, but I would hope that you would give me that extra couple of minutes so that it's for the benefit of everybody here. Oh, here, this is, Ivan. This is for you and the clerk. Maybe you can make copies. Now, before I get into this too, you're going to see by some of the attachments, they're very faded. I've had to copy some of this from a computer, and I've transcribed some of it. So anyway, I will go through this now. So if you want to start the clock, here we go. All right.
Just before you start, we're good, Sean? Sean's going to just do it so that you can watch and you're not worrying about someone. So it'll be up on the screen here. Sorry, can you restart that, Sean? Because I'm interrupting her. Okay. Good. And the clerk has received this package. We'll make sure it's part of the public record.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. Since 2021, the council has made it a policy to acknowledge this land as Algonquin territory. I ask you why and for what purpose. I'm guessing it has something to do with truth and reconciliation, and you're required to incorporate this land acknowledgement to show an authentic and respectful relationship with local First Nations and Métis communities. As you know, the Algonquins have claimed this as unceded territory. In your attachment, you'll see a map that shows the boundaries of this unceded land. For your information, this land was surrendered in 1819. It is under Treaty Number 27, where it was surrendered as a provisional surrender on May 31st, 1819, and then 3 years later it became a confirmed Treaty Number 27 1/4 on November 28th, 1822 by the Mississauga Indians. Why the Mississaugas? Because the Algonquins and the Iroquois had abandoned this area and relocated to the Lake of Two Mountains near Montreal as a result of conflict over the fur trade and disease from smallpox and measles they acquired from the European settlers, which resulted with their population dying off significantly. 20 years later, on June 17, 1839, the Algonquins signed Treaty Number 148 for Kettle Island. And written within that treaty, it states that because the Algonquins were so few in number and were under the paternal care of the priests, they had no actual land in their possession except for 260 acres of sterile soil provided to them from the seminary. It was recommended within this treaty that since they claimed they previously had land on each side of the Ottawa River, that they be compensated for the loss of those lands from which in former times they derived their subsistence, and further recommended that a tract of land should be set apart in the rear of the present range of townships on the Ottawa River, and that these tribes continue to receive such support, encouragement, and assistance as may supply the place of their former means of subsistence, and at the same time prepare and lead them to a state of independence of further aid. End of quote. Approximately 48 years later, on September 22nd, 1873, the Algonquins signed Treaty Number 29, where they were granted 1,561 acres of land in South Algona Township, known as Golden Lake Reserved. You're going to see at the bottom of this where I have the link where you can research this, where I got this information from. I'm sure you are aware of the Aboriginal land claims where the Cowichan tribe filed a traditional land claim in Richmond, BC, which is currently inhabited by several private property owners and businesses who purchased their property under fee simple. The BC Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Cowichan tribe. This case is certainly being considered for appeal, but meanwhile, the private property owners have just recently filed a class action lawsuit against the province because they fraudulently sold land through their Torrens land title system to property owners, ensuring their property ownership was secure. What's particularly interesting in this court filing is written in item 8, which states, I quote, "The proposed class may also consist of all persons or entities who took it to real property in another province or territory of Canada, in reliance that the land system in place in that jurisdiction was sacrosanct, meaning too important or valuable to be interfered with." This statement opens the door for potential other class action lawsuits of private property owners to sue their prospective province as well. Because this BC court ruling cites that traditional land by the Indigenous is superior to parliamentary land titles acts, and that is implied through the UNDRIP Act, that's why it happened, sorry. Just this past October, the Algonquin community had filed a land title claim in Western Quebec for 10,000 acres. The Chippewa Nation won a recent court case for land title in Port Huron, Ontario, Sable Beach, where 5 property owners and a couple of businesses have now lost their properties. If you're not aware of it, of the UNDRIP Act, it received royal assent on June 21st, 2021, during the COVID lockdowns. UNDRIP is the United Nations Declaration for the Rights of Indigenous People. The Trudeau Liberal government introduced it in December 2020 with its first reading, again in April 2021 for the second reading, May 2021 for the third reading, and then royal assent in June 2021, making it law. For background information, the United Nations introduced UNDRIP in 2007 at their General Assembly. 143 countries voted in favor, 11 abstained, and 4 voted against it. The 4 that voted against it were Canada, United States, Australia, and New Zealand, and this was during the Stephen Harper reign. There were 2 articles within that document that they had concerns with. Article 32, where it states, land resources establishing the need for free, informed, and prior consent of Indigenous peoples, end of quote. Their concern was on any developing projects that this may create an Indigenous veto over any issues the Indigenous did not consent to. The second article was Article 26 on land disputes, where it is written, quote, Indigenous people have the right to the lands, territories, and resources which they have traditionally owned, occupied, or otherwise used or acquired, end of quote. This is the land title claims against private property fee simple ownership that we're hearing about today. In 2009 and 10, Canada joined the US, Australia, and New Zealand and endorsed this document. To endorse a document within the UN means that the country believes in the importance of the values set down, but will not sign it, nor will it be incorporated into their own national laws. Canada's official stance was that this was a non-legal binding document that would not reflect on Canadian or international law. The endorsement was a commitment to work in partnership with the Aboriginal people for a better Canada. When Justin Trudeau became Prime Minister in 2015, he changed that, removing Canada's objective status. During the COVID lockdowns in 2021, the Trudeau government made UNDRIP an official legislative act. Only Canada has made it an official legislative act. The other 3 countries, the US, Australia, and New Zealand, still have it as a non-legal binding document. What is most concerning about this act is their preamble. The Trudeau Liberal government included in it included in this document. A preamble means the purpose and intent of the legislative act. Here are a couple of paragraphs from that preamble. Quote, whereas all doctrines, policies, and practices based on or advocating the superiority of peoples or individuals on the basis of national origin or racial, religious, ethnic, or cultural differences, including the doctrines of discovery and terra nullius, are racist, scientifically false, legally invalid, morally condemnable, and socially unjust. This statement is directly in disrepute of the Crown. It implies that those of us who are non-Indigenous Canadian-born people with British or European ancestry are racist. Our religious beliefs, culture differences, Governing policies and practices are scientifically false, legally invalid, morally condemnable, and socially unjust. The other statement, whereas the government of Canada reject all forms of colonialism. End of quote. Colonialism means the policy of acquiring political control over another country, occupying it with its settlers and exploiting it economically. So does this mean the purpose and intent of this UNDRIP Act is to reject or ignore our parliamentary procedures in the House of Commons, the province, ignore or reject our municipal institutions, and reject the laws created from these politically controlled parliamentary institutions? Are we to reject or ignore the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and the Canadian Bill of Rights that granted all people, regardless of race or color, etc., the existence of human rights and fundamental freedoms of individual life, liberty, security, and enjoyment of property? Canada reject colonialism. Is that why the border was open to allow for illegal immigration, to ignore increased crime and violence against the people, to purposely create housing shortages, decreased employment? All this and more because those of us who are Canadian-born, native to this country, but come from British or European descent are racist. Our religious beliefs, our culture, with governing policies and practices are illegal, false, morally condemnable, and socially unjust, and therefore we must pay the consequences. To reject colonialism is to reject our rule of law and order that we have lived for the past 158 years, that has made the people in this country feel safe and secure and provided opportunities for prosperity. But it appears this Liberal government intends to remove this through the UNDRIP Act. Again, there's the link at the bottom of that where you can read the UNDRIP Act yourself and verify this. Uttering these land acknowledgements before every council meeting falls right in line with the UNDRIP Act preamble to reject colonialism. It is discriminatory because you are ignoring all those non-Indigenous people who have worked hard to develop this land, who have cared for it and protected it in order to put food in our mouths today. By uttering this land acknowledgement implies that you believe this land does not belong to us, thereby showing the people in this township that if our private property should become threatened to be taken from us through these Indigenous land claims, that you would not support the private property owners. Mr. Mayor, you served in the military. Would you agree that a good strategy in war would be to divide the enemy and reduce their strength? This Indigenous statement in some of the land claims that they do not want the land owned by the property owners. Sorry, I'm saying that wrong. The Indigenous state, they do not want to take private property away from the people, but the courts are giving it to them anyway. So that's why I believe it is the purpose that this UNDRIP Act, an Indigenous land claim, is to divide the people and weaken their strength. On behalf of all the property owners in Whitewater Township, now that you're aware of this information I brought forward to you today, I respectfully ask that you stop uttering the land acknowledgement on behalf of the Algonquin people. If you cannot acknowledge all the people, then don't acknowledge any of the people. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
I'm sorry, did anybody, I walked away, did anybody have any questions?
So that's my next step. So I just wanted to,
I'm just so used to leaving so quick.
so just before I close off on this, and I recognize you did an awesome job to try to keep it on time. You were very, very close to the 10 minutes, which is why I did not interrupt you. So thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you.
So council, is there any questions or anything you want to throw at Mrs. Burns at this point in time based on what you've been presented? Yeah, Mr. Olmsted, Councilor Olmsted.
Yeah, sorry, and it's actually not a question directed at Ms. Burns. It's, are we allowed to ask questions, or I guess it'd be for staff follow-up with respect to the presentation? So if I may proceed then. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I've been wondering stuff over the last couple of years personally. As councillors, I find that sometimes you go with the flow, not really knowing where things have started from. So during your presentation, I did make a couple of notes, like when did we start the land acknowledgement? And I do remember there being a flip really from, used to start the meetings with a prayer, and somewhere along the line, it got flipped to no longer doing the prayer and doing a land acknowledgement instead. So I'd like to understand where that started. Is it mandated, or who mandated? Is that down for the province, or I'd really like to understand that piece. It seems like the land acknowledgement's become a very political issue, almost like a platform among certain parties, mostly federal parties. And I'm going to come out and say it seems like it's a bit of an attack on religion over the last number of years by suspending a number of prayers, et cetera, in the schools and at council meetings, and not just municipal, but right up the line. So I'd like some of those questions answered in the future. Like, when did it start? Why did it start? And is it really mandated? So I'd like to start there, and if we could, I know we're coming up in the busy season, we're budgeting and that, but if we can look in the new year of answering some of those questions, I'd appreciate that. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks. No, it wasn't a question, but just procedurally, and I have to make sure that we follow our procedural bylaws. That question, in terms of directing staff to answer that question, we'll have to bring it up at notice of motion. Sure. But excellent, your comments are acknowledged. Good. Is there any other questions or comments related to Mrs. Burns' presentation? Yeah?
Just a point of procedure. So, will I work with Carmen on that? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. You can give notice today at today's meeting as a result of the presentation, and then it would come forward at the subsequent one.
Great. Thank you.
I should point out, I had a public meeting on October 30th. I invited everybody here to attend. Unfortunately, nobody came, but there was a lot more information that I think you would have found interesting that explains the history and goes into better detail. But because I had 10 minutes, I had to just point out certain things. So you might have some questions or doubt, but I'd be happy to fill that information in for you or help you with this so you know more. Like, it's, I think you need to understand more. I don't think any of you were aware of this treaty, were you?
I was tracking that these lands were under treaty, because there's other ones that aren't, but
well, when
I
you
don't
look
know the
at your
full extent.
attachment, you will see all of the Algonquin land boundary claim area. You will see a map out of that book of treaties beside it, where the treaty was signed, and it has the signatures of the treaty signed that shows the exact same area.
Perfect. Any other final questions or comments to Mrs. Burns? So I just want to thank you on behalf of council for sharing this. Your comments have been received. Your package is included as part of the record, and we appreciate you taking the time to engage with us.
Thank you for allowing me to speak about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. We'll keep moving. Oh, yes, thank you. Deputy Mayor just cued me. Councillor Bell, just to confirm, you don't have any declarations with respect to anything on the agenda today? Okay. None seen. Excellent. Good. And you received a package, Mrs. Burns' package? Okay. The clerk will make sure you get one. Okay, good. Excellent. The next item on the agenda is the mayor's address. And I have that prepared today. And folks, if you do need to leave, please, we will not be offended. If you do not want to stay for the whole council meeting. In fact, I'll just take a quick pause, let anybody leave that wants to leave, and we'll go from there. I'm going to start. Thank you for the folks who decided to stay. We appreciate your time. Excellent. I'll jump right into the mayor's address then. Since our last council meeting on November 18th, I attended 12 meetings and events on behalf of council, plus attending a council meeting and a Renfrew County District Health Unit board meeting. First, I'll say it now, I wanted to share some news about Connie, who is now Councillor White. The change has been processed through our clerk. We have a new name tag here at the council table, and I may just need to be corrected, but it is formally acknowledged on behalf of council, the name change. And we welcome you, Councillor White. Next, we'll take a few minutes to discuss the trip that the CAO and I took to Queen's Park on November 19th and 20th. As we had mentioned before, we were fully integrated into the Renfrew County Day at Queen's Park and had the opportunity to host Queen's Park MPPs and staff for a breakfast, which was really neat. And it was random. People would come in and say, and I can't remember the gentleman's last name. He came in and says, yeah, I've skidooed through Whitewater a number of times, 3,500 kilometers last winter. So that they recognized who we are and where we are. So it was very interesting there. We were also then able to sit in on each one of the county delegations that were scheduled throughout the day in the briefing room. And it was great to hear all the questions that were asked and the comments that were made by ministers and their staff. So it was very different than what we're used to at AMO and Roma. This was much more of a back and forth discussion to try to get things done. We discussed the former Timinco mine site at about 1 p.m. and had ministers of red tape reduction, the Minister of Natural Resources and the Minister of Energy and Mines, as well as the senior staff member from the Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade. And here we specifically went through how can we seize the economic opportunity presented by this critical mineral deposit. And I'll just remind people there's about 6.2 million tons of dolomite still in the ground there that's available for extraction and to make magnesium, as well as the potential for a complementary Class 3 industrial park. So a huge economic opportunity. The frank discussion, the cross-ministry coordination, and the clear support for the proposal were motivating and has helped build some momentum for the CEO and I. And it was interesting because, as I've told you before, one ministry says, oh no, we can't help you with that. The other ministry will do that. Well, we had them right there. And the other ministry, they looked at each other and said, oh no, we got to sort this out. We're going to help you. So it was nice to be able to cut through all of that bureaucracy. The event was well worth attending and should reap much benefits for Whitewater Region. We will also look, there will be a more fulsome report that will come to council in the new year after we get our budget and the regular annual things that we need to get through. But in the meantime, staff are continuing to work with regional ministry staff and the County of Renfrew to align our efforts. And some of those concurrent initiatives that are ongoing, the first one is completing a land use planning rationale, after which we can submit a formal application to M&R for the surplus lands. So it's really just confirming that those lands are suitable for what for the potential economic development. The second thing is commissioning an industrial lands appraisal. And this gives us the ability to assess the market value of the lands so that we can get into discussions about the cost. The next one is coordinating with the County of Renfrew to attend PDAC. And I'm going to just quickly, for the sake of people wanting to know it, the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada. So this is a national/international conference hosted here in Toronto each year. And they bring, a lot of the mines are represented there. A lot of the refinement processors are represented there, and there's investors that are looking for opportunities to invest in. So it was suggested by Minister of Energy and Mines, Ministry of Natural Resources, that we attend and profile the availability that we have here in Whitewater Region. So we're looking at aligning that with Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade. They already have a booth planned for that conference. seeing if we can align with their participation. And the second thing is developing a profile of the critical mineral deposit for potential proponents. That's essentially making sure that it's basically an investment opportunity, trying to sell it in a two-page summary, similar to what other critical mineral deposits have at this conference. And then the last thing is continuing the discussions of the County of Renfrew on establishing the potential ability to establish a regional or county industrial commission that could specifically focus on the economic development of this site and other sites in the region or the county. Excellent. I'm going to pause there. I'm going to first ask the CAO if he had anything he wanted to add based on his experience at Queen's Park.
I would only add that we, sort of on behalf of the township, thank MPP Deneau together with the warden, Peter Emo, and the staff at the county for supporting the initiative. And thanks specifically for myself to CAO Craig Kelly for allowing me to join the team in this advocacy effort. Thanks so much.
Perfect. And just, I see the clerk has a copy of it. We could distribute that if you have it, but I did send a formal thank you to both the CAO, the warden, and the MPP for that event. Good. Any comments or questions from members of council on the Queen's Park or the initiative that we're trying to take place at the former Tobacco mine site? Yeah, Councillor Olmsted?
Yeah, when did you say the trade show was? They're coming up?
Trade show is first week of March.
All right. Thank you.
Good. Excellent. So we're still, the resolution that was passed by council with respect to the work on this project hasn't changed. We're still within the confinement of that resolution. The subsequent report, once we know what other support we need from council to proceed, then we'll have an opportunity to debate it and make the decision on how we might want to proceed. Good. So the only other thing I wanted to talk about was budgeting. So next week is a very busy week. I'm sharing this with you as well as the public. We have 2 meetings scheduled as we prepare for the 2026 budget. Our next meeting will be December 8th, which is Monday, and this will be a budget committee meeting, specifically the budget committee meeting, where we will review the budget presented back on October 21st that has been amended with the comments that council provided. And the intent is then to get that budget to a point on December 8th where it can be presented to the public for public input on December 11th, whether that's verbal or in writing. And then we'll be able to consider public input and make a final recommendation to approve the budget. And that ends my mayor's report. Any final comments or questions from members of council? Awesome. See none. Good, we'll move on to item number 8, and I'll just ask the clerk, was there any public comments received from anybody writing or? No? No public comments. Perfect. Jump straight into reports. First item on the reports section is 9.1, and this is our 2025 Community Recreation Grant update, or basically a review of our community recreation grant. The recommendation before us is that the Council of the Township Whitewater Region accept this update report on the 2025 Community Recreation Grant as information. I look for a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Bell, seconded by Councillor White. 1 for 1. And we're going to send this to our Manager of Community Services.
Thank you, Mayor. So at the beginning of the year, you'll remember that we presented council with an opportunity to increase the community recreation grant for 2025 in order to help with some programming and childcare, youth, and also staff that wanted to make community connections and partnerships within Whitewater and outside Whitewater in order to enhance the program offerings which are in our region. So staff were granted an increase in the community recreation grant program of $16,671.67, with $11,000 and change approved in kind, and then over $5,000 for cash paid out. So our summer day camps and our school professional activity days camps were operated by the Community Resource Center, the Boys and Girls Club, Renfrew County. And they were also sponsored in part by the Beachburg Agricultural Society and the Westmeath District Recreation Association, as well as the township through discounted and or in-kind space. So there's a breakdown of each of the dollar values in each of those camps, what camps were offered. Successful weekly fall programming is still ongoing and moving into the winter and is offered mainly in the Cobden Arena right now. These programs are operated by the Boys and Girls Club in Renfrew County, as well as the Renfrew County Community Youth Wellness Hub. I did want to make a note that 2 weeks of our summer camp were unable to run this year due to low registration, and one of our PA day camps did also not run for low registration. So the remaining funds, we've partnered with the following groups there, the Beachburg Agricultural Society, as well as Recreation, the Foresters Falls Athletic Association, Westmeath WDRA, Cobden Rec, and the Community Resource Center in Killaloe, to be able to offer these cash partnerships. And those groups have sent me lists of what it is they're going to use those funds for. So we're going to present it to them as a grant to finish off the year, and some of the events like the parades, some of their end of season skates, the fireworks in Cobden, all of these different little events are going to have our contribution attached to them. So that's what that fund is for. And then I also wanted to note the $10,000, which was fully exhausted for this year, and some of the groups that were of benefit from the township in that grant partnership. So given the success of the 2025 summer and fall programs, and with expecting renewed interest from our partners, we'd like to ensure these opportunities continue to exist and recognize funding through the Community Recreation Grant can be used to support this ongoing. An increase in this fund will assist with camp and program funding and also be included in the 2026 budget for your council deliberation. So the overall breakdown is in the financial implications. So $26,671 is what was spent. Remaining from that overall is $5,702.18. That amount, if you'll note, is in kind. And that was because of the camp cancellations that we're not providing that. And that's all I have.
Excellent. Hugely successful this year with lots of participation. I'll move to our mover first. Councillor Bell, any comments or questions?
Yeah, just a question about, I know back in the summer there were those, you mentioned them, the couple camps that had to be canceled because of the low registration. How are the camps, or not the camps, but the after-school programs and that sort of thing, how are those being attended right now?
They are being attended regularly, and I've asked staff actually how many children are generally attending. When I started asking, it was between 8 and 10, and now it's a little bit more. But yeah, they've been consistently operating.
Yeah, I think with those, it was late in the season that connection got made last year, and I think probably a lot of families already had plans for the summer camps and that sort of thing. So it'd be interesting going into next summer how those are attended and if we can get those numbers up, because I think that's one of those things that came up during the election was childcare and the lack of availability, and this is kind of an option during the summer for families. So it'd be nice to see these camps get filled up, and then our participation in providing some of the cash and the in-kind contributions. So yeah, very happy with that.
Excellent. I'll go to the seconder, which is Councillor White.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Questions or comments from, Councillor Olmsted.
Yeah, just wondering, how are we getting word out? How are we advertising about these camps?
So we have had connections with the schools, and they're being communicated to the parents through the schools if they'll share. And then the Boys and Girls Club is doing their own advertising. It's being advertised on our website as well as our social media accounts. So we did that. I believe in the beginning of the summer, we may have put out an ad in one of the newspapers as well, if I'm remembering correctly.
We're getting word out. Maybe last year was just, I know it was late coming, so I would expect the attendance to be greatly improved this year. And that Councillor Bell was right. That's one of the things I heard. I actually heard two things. One was daycare, and the other was like camps. Like there was nothing for the younger kids to do. So I would expect attendance to greatly improve this year. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from members of the council? The only thing I would add is it just underlines the importance of our rec associations, our agricultural societies. Borca is listed in there. We need to be working together as a community in order to offer this type of programming at the lowest possible cost. If it was something we tried to do as a taxpayer-funded activity instead of Boys and Girls Club or the youth wellness, it's going to cost a lot more money. So I'm very thankful for staff to put the effort. It is a lot more work on staff to coordinate between 2 or 3 parties, but I think it pays out best for the community in the long run. So very supportive of your approach, and like has been mentioned before, I think it will continue to gain momentum. So appreciate it. Keep up the good work. Good. No other comments? So we are just, a reminder, we are just receiving this information this report as information. So I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. 9.2. This is where we get technical. Rotary Lobe pump purchase. So the recommendation is that the Council of the Township Whitewater Region approve the award for a Vogelslang VX 136 210Q Rotary Lobe pump to Directric at a cost of $24,309.82, including non-refundable HST. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Olmsted. And Superintendent Nicholson, up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know those words are a mouthful, so I apologize if I stumble over them myself. But as part of the 2025 capital budget, a permeate rotary low pump was approved, and this pump is a critical component in the treatment process at the wastewater treatment plant. So initially, the pump was requested to be purchased as a spare part because the lead time on these pumps can be quite long, between 10 and 12 weeks. And if this pump was to go down, we would be in a real pickle. So Aqua had requested that last year, and we adopted it into the budget. However, Aqua's recently advised us that one of the 2 existing pumps actually needs to be taken out of service for maintenance. So it is timely for us to purchase this pump. And as a result, Aqua is planning to install the new pump immediately and take out the existing pump to refurbish the unit, which then that will sit as the backup. So in the first quarter of 2025, the Township and Aqua requested quotes for the Vogelsang rotary low pump from 2 dealers that are listed on the manufacturer's website. Rather than through as a tender, because this is a proprietary pump, it's the only one that can work in this specific spot. So at the time, we received 2 quotations, one from Directric in the amount of $35,381, and one from John Brooks Company in the amount of $20,985. Now that's in US dollars, this one. And in May of this year, staff were about to bring this to council for award to John Brooks based on that pricing, when we received notification that from the pump manufacturer directly that they were not entitled, that John Brooks is not actually permitted to sell Vogelsang pumps directly to municipalities. I guess they have some agreements in place that they're only permitted to sell to industrial customers, and that Directric is the lone supplier for supplying these pumps to municipalities. So from there, in the third quarter, we reached out directly to the pump manufacturer just to confirm all these things directly with them, and they did confirm that that was the case, that Directric was the only supplier. So as such, we reached out to them again to discuss the quote that we received, because there was quite the difference in price of the 2 of them. So during that discussion, they provided us with a new revised quotation in the amount of $26,994, which includes HST. And just for a little bit of background, the representative from Directric explained that this pump, which is a significant purchase, was quoted initially in January at the start of the trade relations issues with the US, and that some of the costs were to do with the tariffs that would have been applied to the pump. So at the time, it was to be imported from Germany into the US and then from the US into Canada. And so since that time, Directric has revised their operations where they're actually now directly importing their products from Germany into Canada, so it's bypassing the US tariff. So we received the new quote. It was about almost $9,000 less, which was great, as a result of the not having to pay those tariffs. So a little quick thing here, our township's procurement policy dictates that different thresholds for when you get informal quotes and requests for quotations and tenders. Normally we tender here, but because this is a specific piece of equipment from a specific supplier, we're referring to our section 11.1 of our policy that states that non-competitive procurement can be used to ensure compatibility with existing products. So that's the position that we're in here today. So that's why we're going directly with Directric. So the total purchase price of the Rotary Lobe pump comes in at $24,309.82, including non-refundable HST. And of note, our capital budget was for $35,000, so we're well below that, which is a good sign. Do you have any questions?
Excellent, thank you so much for that, and I'll go to the mover first. Any questions or Councillor Moore, any questions?
Just a comment. Thank you for your due diligence in this, and it's nice that we're under budget and realizing that we need this piece of equipment to suite. So I guess as soon as we can get it ordered, the better off we are to have a spare in-house, even if it's not connected right away. So I'm in full favor of this. Thank you.
Excellent. Councillor Olmsted, the seconder. Anyone else, any comments? Councillor Trim?
Yes, I don't know what the exchange rate was at the time, but the John Brooks quotation is in USD, and so I think it's going to be very close to that because we're paying in Canadian dollars, 24 something. So it should be quite close to the original low bid.
That's probably a good point.
But I don't know what the exchange rate is.
Noted. Any other questions from any member of council? Oh gosh, I have two. I don't know where I think of these. You had noted that there is currently a pump that is in need of being refurbished, not replaced necessarily. Did it last as long as it was supposed to? Why are we refurbishing a pump so early in its life?
I'd have to go back to see what they've quoted. I know we looked into whether it would have been under warranty, and the original warranty was, I believe, was 1 year. So we're getting close to the 4 to 5 year mark. Maybe Lane can speak to expected pump life.
Yeah, so this is one of 2 pumps in the plant. The one pump, Aqua has printed it's fine, and the second pump just needs seals and oil changes, so it's regular maintenance done on it. It's on, sorry.
No, your mic, there's something wrong with that mic.
That better? Yeah. Okay, apologize. Yeah, sorry, I'll start over again. So it's one of 2 pumps in the wastewater plant. The one is Aqua has been part of their round maintenance is operating fine. The second one, there's signs of that needs maintenance for seals and for regular oil change. So that has to be done part of this. And while it could be taken out, one train could be taken out of line, it'd be out of service. Having a second one, the backup could be put in place. Then we'll have full capacity without doing it.
Makes perfect sense. I had assumed it was a bigger job than just regular maintenance. Thank you. Second question is, when I first read the report and it talked about the company constraining the distribution of the parts to a single supplier for Canada, specifically for municipalities, I felt as though there was a risk of us being taken advantage of. Essentially, one person tells us how much it's going to be for the pump in Canada. I'm wondering, is there any way to push back on that? Have we thought of organizations like LAS to see if there's ways to negotiate with the supplier to ensure that we're getting the lowest price possible?
I can take that one. So that's staff due diligence, so we wanted to get more than one quote, even though our purchasing policy allows to have, to spec the same manufacturer if it's only company that can supply it. That's why staff reached out and found another supplier in Canada, and it was a lower quote, and that was our concern, that why was it such a different price? And then that's why we were going down there. We always had it went to council for the other supplier, and then at the last minute determined that they couldn't supply to municipalities, only industrial facilities. So then that's when that kind of breaks put on this project that we're trying to find why there's such a price variance between the two products. We didn't know if it was warranty because it's the same pump, but so we actually contacted staff. We actually contacted the manufacturer and set up a meeting and discussed what is the reason why. And the reason was provided that with the trade war going on, and then they actually came back with a new revised price. So maybe there was, if we didn't ask questions back then, but staff doing their due diligence. Staff we're going to be looking into other rotary Lobe pumps, because not the only one, but a direct replacement matches the other pump, and it can be switched back. So it makes more sense to have the same manufacturer as originally put in. But staff we're going to, if the price wasn't lowered, staff we're going to look at alternatives.
Good. Nothing else from anyone else? Thank you, Lane. With that, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Next, item 9.3 is Municipal Auditor Services. And the recommendation is that the Council of the Township Whitewater Region receive this report for information purposes relating to the extension for audit services by McKillen and Associates Chartered Professional Accountants for a one-year term for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025. Can I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Olmsted, seconder. The clerk is just asking for a clarification. It is correct? It's 2025. Excellent. Good. Good. I'll turn this over to the treasurer. Thank you.
Thank you. So the municipal auditor function is to audit the financial statements. Per the Municipal Act, we are required to have an audit completed every year. The purpose of the audit is to do financial oversight, accountability, risk assessment, the transparency, regulatory compliance, which is meeting the regulatory requirements through the Municipal Act, and then overall performance evaluation. So McKillen and Associates have been the municipality's auditor since 2000 and what do I have here? Since 2001, so the year of amalgamation. In 2020, we put out an RFP for auditing services, and they were awarded for the terms 21, 22, and 23 year ends. Last year, on November 6th, it was brought to council that we were extending for one of the 2-year extensions that were available to us in the agreement for the 2024 year end. And through my review, it's pertinent to extend them to utilize the final extension to that agreement. We are allowed to have them for 5 years per the Municipal Act, to utilize that final year, and then go in 2026 for RFP again, out for further auditing service for the 2026 year end. Any questions?
Thank you, Treasurer. I'll go to the mover first, Councillor Olmsted.
So it's extended to December 31st of this year. Does that mean that they'll be auditing 2025?
That's correct, yep.
So the work will be performed in 2026?
That's correct, yeah. They start some work this year. So the interim work normally happens in the month of December, and then the final work works normally in the March, April periods of the year.
Great, thank you.
Excellent. And my seconder was Councillor Moore. Any comments?
Just wondering when this RFP will go out. Will you be looking at September, perhaps October, before it goes out for 2027?
2026.
26?
Because the year end is December 31st, 2026, and knowing the industry, I would be pushing that RFP to be going out probably in March. The idea is a lot of auditing firms do personal accounting as well. So we don't want to have a timeline where April 30th is involved in their pieces. So the piece would probably go out in March with a duration of probably a month, month and a half to come up with the information, just because I know the work that's required in these. And we probably close in June for the RFP and be able to award before the council break and before council goes into the lame duck period before the election.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from members of council? Councilor Trim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to the treasurer. I'd just like to confirm that the senior active living a grant is part of the audit.
So we audit they audit all chunks of it. They don't specifically audit that grant, they're not required to, but they audit the entirety of the municipality. So all accounts are reviewed and all functions of the financials of the municipality are reviewed, which includes the consolidation of the library, which includes the consolidation of the museum, and then any grants that we do amongst that. So the CELC is reviewed, it's just not required by the ministry to be specifically separated out from our overall financial statements.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions? Okay, again, just this is only for information as he is exercising an extension that was authorized in the initial award. So we're just voting on receiving this as information. Call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried unanimously. Thank you. Next one, 9.4. And I'll just warn, this has 3 recommendations involved in it, and this has to do with 3 elements: the procedural bylaw, the delegation of authority bylaw, and the procurement policy. So there's 3 elements that'll be, and clerk, just to clarify, I'll read all 3 recommendations. Need a mover and seconder for each one?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So I'm wondering, I'm sorry.
Do one, yeah.
I have it grouped out in my talking notes, so I know there may not be a lot of discussion on the first 2. So if we read the first one, we'll get a mover and seconder. I can do the quick report on that and then move. Is that
Excellent. Perfect. Good. So just if you're looking at the agenda, 9.4 is going to be done in 3 distinct parts, as we have 3 separate recommendations. The first recommendation is that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region approve the proposed amendments to the procurement policy. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Olmsted, seconded by Councillor Bell. Good. And at that point, I'll turn it over to the clerk for discussion.
Procurement first. So the purpose of the procurement bylaw is to ensure that the municipal resources are used effectively, and it supports fair treatment of vendors, a delegate authority for the procurement decisions. There's a few updates that we felt that should be made. These include approval times for managers to reflect inflation and current economic conditions. And we'll make sure that we review all the other policies to ensure it's consistent across the township's framework. So I did highlight all the changes in yellow, so if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer any of those. Thanks.
Perfect. Clerk, can you just pull it up on the screen so that if there is questions, people can refer to the section on, yeah. Thank you. Good. With that, I'll go to the mover. Councillor Olmsted, is there any comments or questions that you want to make?
No questions or comments, thanks.
Councillor Bell? No. Anyone else? Any questions or comments on the procurement policy? This is perfect. Good. And I have no questions because I've reviewed it already with staff, so it's excellent. With that, I will call for the vote specifically on the procurement policy amendments. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Next part of 9.4 is a recommendation that the Council of Township Whitewater Region approve the proposed amendments to the delegation of authority policy. A mover and a seconder, please. Sorry, Councillor Trim, I've got. Can I get a seconder, please? Deputy Mayor. And Clerk, back to you.
So the delegation of authority, the purpose of this policy is to help provide a framework for decision-making. It clearly defines what powers council will delegate to staff. Some of the changes proposed in the policy are expenditure limits within approved budgets, within approved budgets, authorization letters for support grants applications, the authority for the treasurer and the CAO to approve limited increases to operating budget line items, and some planning approvals to help comply with the official plan policies. So if there's any questions on this policy, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Clerk. I'll go to Councillor Trim first. Any questions or comments? Good. And the seconder, Deputy Mayor?
Not at this one, thank you.
Anyone else about council? Okay, there's just one comment I wanted to make with this one. I've talked to the CAO. The delegation of authority is an important tool. It allows for that ability for staff to be able to exercise procurement, essentially as one element, but also letters and these things within the scope that we've already provided, whether that's the budget or other related resolutions. But what's an important part of the delegation is to report back to council when that delegation has been exercised. That gives us an indication of when it's been used, but it also allows us to say, to do that gut check, is this still applicable? Is this still what we want to be happening? And I'll just get the CAO to confirm, but that report back to council should be as part of the quarterly reporting. Is that the intent?
Yes, absolutely. Through the quarterly report within each division or department, we would report back any use of the delegated authority, correct?
Excellent. So you, council, can be rest assured you will see this reported every quarter anytime it's been exercised. Good. Any other questions? I see none. We'll call for the vote then. All those in favor? And it's unanimous. Thank you. The third and final component of 9.4 is the recommendation that Council of the Township Whitewater Region approve the proposed amendments to the procedural bylaw. A mover and a seconder, please. I'm going to go Deputy Mayor, and seconder is Councillor Moore. And back to the clerk.
So the purpose of the procedural bylaw is to address gaps in governance and align with modern legal requirements. Some of the key changes include clearer rules when it comes to public participation. It helps define presentations, delegations, setting time limits. Some other improvements are when the mayor decides whether or not there's unfinished business, whether we carry it forward or we just defer it. Make sure that the agendas are now posted on the meeting portal site. Council meetings are proposed for the first and third Wednesdays, all to start at 1 o'clock unless there's a public meeting. Making sure that council notifies the clerk if they can't attend the meetings. Switching the order of the confirmatory bylaw just to make sure that legislation is being met. Clear protocols for electronic participation, and establishing guidelines for the township boards and committees. So if there's any questions, I'll hand it over to
Excellent. Thank you, Clerk. I'll go to my mover first, Deputy Mayor. Any comments or questions?
Thank you very much, Mayor. Yeah, so this is one item that I had brought forward, and it was regarding meeting times. And the reason I had brought that forward was there was a couple. The first and foremost, I thought if we could go to just a meeting during the day as opposed to the evening meetings would be helpful, not just for staff. That was one reason. I find by the end of the day, if it's 5 o'clock in the evening and we've already had a full day, we have staff that are here till 9 o'clock at night, as are we. I don't know how productive any of us are at that time. We've been doing it all along. I understand that. But I would like to just see or if there is there, everyone would be in favor of that. The other one is cost effective. When we have meetings during the evening, we have a majority of our staff are often here. So that also is giving additional overtime costs towards staff. So that is also, would be a benefit if we were just day meetings only. And first and foremost, again, to me, it was just for the staff. That's where it's coming back to. This is why I brought it forward. It's the staff that I was thinking of whenever we're trying to negotiate this, only because I do think that 13-hour days, 12, 13-hour days are not feasible for any of us. So that's where I was going with that, and that's all I would have to say. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Perfect, thank you, Deputy Mayor, and we've noted that that specifically is mentioned in the procedural bylaw proposed changes at 11.2. Good, I'll go to my seconder next, Councillor Moore.
I do have one concern, and it's having a public meeting starting at 5 p.m. after we have a meeting. If no one from the public shows up, is there anything saying that the meeting has to proceed, or do we still go through the motions and have the meeting and leave as soon as it's over? Or are we supposed to wait a certain amount of time for if Joe Public coming from work may show up?
Good, I'm gonna offer comment and then we'll turn to the staff, one of the two here. The public meeting still has to happen in terms of, because you could have received information in writing or virtual attendance, may not be physical attendance. So those two components would still have to be met, especially if it's respect to the Planning Act. But for your question about how long it has to remain open, I'm going to turn that over to staff.
So the public meetings start at 4:45. Generally, a report is noted at the beginning of the public meeting, and if nobody's here to provide comment, council will then debate on the item or not debate on whatever the issue is, and then the meeting is adjourned.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Excellent, good. And then I'll open it up there. Sorry, Councillor Moore, is there any other comments that you had? before I
Nope,
move
that's it.
on? Excellent, okay. So we'll open it up to the other members of council. Any other additional comments or concerns from members of council? Yes, Councillor Bell.
Just in regards to the times, I think for me, it doesn't really make a difference one way or the other as far as I work shift work, so there's some days where I can be here, some days I can't. But I think moving forward, it's difficult for anybody that's not retired, anybody that holds a full-time job and wants to participate in council or is elected onto council for a 1 o'clock meeting on a regular basis 2 times a month. We have a business owner here that participates a lot at the store. 1 o'clock times, I'm sure, are more difficult to show up to on a regular basis. I understand everything makes sense as far as staff is concerned. But my only concern with incorporating that into the bylaw is it's going to make it more difficult for those that hold full-time or regular jobs throughout the week to be able to participate on an ongoing basis. So that would be one concern that I would have on changing the times to 1 o'clock for every meeting on an annual basis.
Good, thank you, Councillor Bell. Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Olmsted.
Yeah, as a business guy, actually, I find I can schedule it in easier during the day than the evening. I'm not sure that's the same with everybody, but in my particular business, we have enough staff around that I can, we're off during my busy periods anyway. I think we end meeting about mid-June, so July, August are good for me, but as a business guy, I don't mind meeting at 1 o'clock. It kind of goes with the flow during your regular day. But you don't have to rescind it, but I have no problem with it personally.
Good, thank you. Any other comments on any of the items? Like, we don't have to zero in just on one of them, so. But Councillor White, please.
I actually have 3 points I would like, 4 points I'd like to discuss if possible. I understand the change from 1 is for our staff and for ourselves as we get older, but, well, you were the one who said we're retired, so if we get older, you want to have earlier meetings. So, But my thing is what about the residents of our municipality who want to come to a meeting and they work during the day? How are they supposed to come at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? The other concern, so that was the one thing. For me, it's just residents and, you know, if we are going to make this change, it should be soon because people are going to consider running for council now, and right now it is 1 and 4:45. So if we are going to change this, it should be done sooner rather than later. Why are all the public meetings beginning at 4:45? So does this mean that if our council meeting ends, let's say at 2:30 today, we have to hang around until 4:45 for the public meeting to begin? Or can we move the public meeting up?
So I'm going to interject before you get into your third and fourth points. The intent of, as I understand it, the intent to keep the public meetings at 4:45 was to ensure that if there was someone who physically wanted to, because the most important, the most direct way to influence council decisions is to participate in those public meetings. And yes, we do it virtually. Yes, they can submit it in writing. But if they really wanted to come in person, that's why it was offered at 4:45. So it was specifically looking at that avenue. Could we as a council decide, no, we're going to start it at a different time? We can decide that. But because it's a public meeting, it has to be advertised, I want to say 10 or 14 days in advance. There's a regulated in legislation how many days it has to be advertised. So you would have to set it, and if you finished early, you're stuck. If you finish late, you have to pause, do the public meeting, and then go back to your other meeting. Do you understand? Yeah, okay, so good. Does that help you?
Yeah, so if we're going to schedule public meetings at 4:45, why not schedule them on the days that we have our meetings at 4:45 now? And they would only, instead of doing it at 4:45, schedule them for 5 o'clock, so we can start our meeting and then go to a public meeting.
And that is what we're currently doing,
Yes.
yes.
So why can't, I don't understand why we need to change it to 1 o'clock then. That's my thing. 8.13, it says shall okay, I'll wait till you get to it. I had other concerns, I will admit, but I did speak to the clerk already. But 8.3, it says, oh no, I must have it wrong. No, I have it wrong. Anyways, it says shall cast, may cast. And it says verbally or by show of hands. Oh, 8.13, yes, 8.13, sorry.
What is it?
8.13. Okay, it says members participating electrically shall cast, may cast, votes verbally by show of hands. This seems, I don't know, there's a lot of wording in there. It's, you have to or you may.
We may,
Yeah.
no, yeah, this may be an updated version, so we'll just pause for a second and take a look
Oh, you
there.
don't even have an 8.13. I have a whole thing here.
Yeah.
So when I go onto the agenda and try to pull that up on my part of the agenda, the mayor has it, but on mine, I'm not getting it. So if maybe we could, I can't even.
Previous November 5th meeting, and I pulled it up because I noticed that they weren't highlighted, so it's.
You don't have an 8.13? I go from 8.1 to 8.14.
I didn't print mine.
Okay, so we're just gonna pause for a second. Can I just get your hard copy? I just want to do a comparison to make sure we're.
Yeah, I didn't pull mine up here.
Yeah, that's the one I clicked on and it's coming out of mine.
If you open up the agenda package on that, like the full agenda package, Kermit, at the top PDF, top of the page, for the PDF. See if it'll show up there. And we're probably searching for the word cast.
On page 69 of 7.
Yeah, it looks like it's cut out of this version. So we'll get it clarified.
So is it cut out or is it,
We're gonna confirm just to make sure that we get,
okay.
in case the system has done something.
If you allow me, for the purposes of the people utilizing their iPads or digital mechanisms to access today's agenda, in the bylaw section of the agenda, there's the 3 full bylaws there. They're unhighlighted because they're kind of the final versions, but if you're trying to find it in a digital version, that would be it there. And back over to you, maybe, Carmen, if you could, or to you, Mayor.
So the challenge there, CAO, is the one in the bylaw portion
And sorry,
ends at 8.5. Yeah. Yes, Lane?
sorry, if I can also add, the 3 in the actual agenda item doesn't show up with the, all 3 doesn't show up with the highlighted, I don't believe.
But we have a version in front of us here, I think it was. So if I could, you were referring to 8.13,
Yes.
and if we could just scroll down a bit, Clerk Miller, to 8.13?
And sorry, I just want like a point of order on this.
Yeah.
Is that I want to make sure that we publicly acknowledge which version will be available for the public to be able to review at the same time. The one that she has up now shows 8.5, 8.6 to 8.14. How did we access this, but it's not on the agenda?
So through you, it's on the November 5th meeting, so I'll update the agenda to reflect this bylaw. I'll update that.
Okay, so I'm just gonna,
So it's on the meeting portal.
yeah, I'm just
November
thinking though, there's been changes made since November 5th.
Yes.
For the purposes of the discussion and deliberation today, let's discuss, if I could make a suggestion, let's discuss the points of concern or anything that arises using the version in front of us. Let's maybe perhaps omit the adoption of the bylaw at the end of the meeting because it's unclear what we are adopting. We would just omit those bylaws and bring them back at a subsequent meeting with the final refined versions.
Perfect. I think that's a great approach. I'm just going to look for concurrence from our mover, which is Deputy Mayor Secondary. Good. No objections from any other member. So we'll continue to discuss this. We will follow up with a final reversed copy, or the very final copy as part of the next council meeting. Good, Clerk? Okay, so back to Councillor White. 8.13 is in front of us.
Right. So it's shall cast, may cast, votes verbally by show of hands. So
it's
shall and may are 2 different words.
So I'm thinking it probably should say or. It should say members participating electronically shall cast votes verbally or by show of hands.
So you
So
can-
there's extra words
shall-
in there.
So you're taking out may cast.
And adding the word or.
Right. Shall cast
So
votes
that's-
verbally or by show of hands. Okay.
Which makes sense.
Yes.
When you're on your Zoom call, you can do it by show of hands or by verbal, depending on the connection or the video.
Okay, and my last one is 11.7.
11.7.
Oh. Shall occur, yeah. Despite clause 11, no regular meeting shall occur during the voting period in the year of an election. Well, our voting period is September 26th to October 23rd. Our inauguration meeting is November 16th, and our regular council is November 18th. So does that mean that between September 25th and November 18th, there will be no council meetings?
Yes, please.
The voting period is September, and I apologize, what date you said, 23rd to
26th.
October 26th.
October 26th to October 26th.
That's when you can vote. That's the
Right.
voting period.
Right.
After that, you can hold meetings. During the 2 weeks during the whatever, I'm sorry, I'm not sure exactly when the voting period.
So it'd be the old council, though, voting, holding the meetings.
So the inaugural meeting, the old this term is in session until the new council is sworn in.
Okay,
So up until that time, omitting the voting, the 2-week voting period, or 3 weeks, I'm sorry, I'm not sure how many weeks it is, you may have meetings.
but it wouldn't be who the people voted in for the
No,
new
because
election?
they're not sworn in yet,
Okay.
correct?
But still, September 26th to October 23rd, that's a month alone where we cannot hold meetings then.
Correct. And the CAO has to manage it then. There is special authorities that's been granted to him to make sure that, now if there was, I'm assuming, and I have to get into it, if there was a declaration of an emergency during the voting period, I think that would take precedent, but we would be following exact legislation if that had to be something that was addressed during the election period.
Okay.
But you just want to avoid having a meeting because people could take advantage of the microphone.
Right. Okay, and I'm sorry, I do have one more.
And sorry, I'm just going to add one more comment, just if in case the public looks at this or reviews the video, is yes, there is a first week of November council meeting scheduled. Like a tip, I don't know if it's scheduled, but it could occur after the voting period, before the next group is sworn in. But you wouldn't be discussing or deciding on very much if that didn't represent who had been elected. If you understand what I'm saying? And again, that would be the CAO managing that. It would have to be something very of a high need that would have to be addressed in that window of time. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, good. So 11.7 is good for you?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And I have 7.1, sorry. The first meeting of a newly elected council after a regular election shall be held on the first or third Wednesday of the term. Oh, sorry, we did discuss that, yes. Yes, sorry, okay, I forgot. Yeah, I was thinking the first meeting would be the inauguration, but that's, yes, I was wondering why I didn't have that down. Okay, thank you very much.
And just for those people that might be tracking, I think the inauguration is a Monday. Yes. And the council meeting is a Wednesday. So they swear in on the first time, and then the Wednesday is when they can start making decisions. Good? Thank you for that feedback. So any final comments? We still have the question about the 1 p.m. No other comments about that? Yes, Deputy Mayor?
If I may just come back, and we do have employees out there who do work shift work, who never do, they can only attend a council meeting. Like, if somebody's going to come to council for something, I think they're going to make that effort regardless, I think, to try and attend these meetings. Is just a point I'm trying to make. We do have nurses, we do have people that work at Magellan that only work that straight shift and never can see a council meeting. So, you know what I mean? We can't just assume that everybody is working days or everybody's working nights.
Right.
Right? Okay. Yeah.
So if we're assuming
Councillor
that
White.
not everybody is working days or nights, and we should have two different time meetings so that those who do work nights can attend the day meeting, and those who work day can attend the night meeting. But if we have all meetings at 1 o'clock, they cannot attend an afternoon meeting if that's all they're able to go to because they work during the day. That's all I'm saying. It's just me, sorry.
And it's noted, I don't know if, sorry, and I'll just offer my feedback if you're done debating it between the two of you. My opinion is we try to make sure we offer every avenue, whether that's they want to call in to a public meeting, they want a virtual in, they want to write in, they want to be here physical. We try to make sure that every opportunity is there. Good. So we have, if there's no other comments from anyone, we have this proposed amendments to the procedural bylaw in front of us. If there's no amendments being proposed by anybody, I am going to call the vote on the current one. Yes, Councillor White.
Can I ask that, I closed my book. What was that one for the 1 o'clock meetings?
11.2.
11.2. Can I ask that that be a separate vote, please?
Could we sever that from the vote?
Yes.
I think what we'll, sorry, and I'm looking to my,
I don't know.
could it be severed from the vote? Or you'd have to propose an amendment?
I think because it's a whole document, it's a whole bylaw, we should be proposing an amendment. So we can propose on it as it is or amend it,
Good? So if you'd like to amend 11.2, you can put that on the floor.
I'd like to amend 11.2 to what it is now, first Wednesday of the month is at 1 p.m. and the second Wednesday of the month at 4:45 p.m. Please.
Good, so we have a mover for an amendment of 11.2. Is there a seconder? I'll ask again, is there a seconder? Good, there is no seconder. I'm sorry, your amendment is not to be debated. Good. And if there's no other amendments, we will call for the vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. And with that, we are going to take a bio break, 5 minutes, please. Welcome back to the Township Whitewater Region's regular council meeting for Wednesday, December 3rd. It's 2:33 and we're going to call ourselves back to order. We have just completed 9.1 through 9.4 of the report section of the agenda, and we have one report remaining, 9.5, which is a curbside collection of blue box material at ICI properties. And the recommendation that's before us is that the Council of the Township Whitewater Region approve the recommendation to, 1, provide curbside blue box collection services to existing industrial, commercial, institutional properties in 2026. And 2, select the blend option for the collection of blue box material at the Ross landfill in 2026. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Moore and a seconder, Councillor Olmsted. Excellent. Superintendent Nicholson, you're going to lead us through this one?
I am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So one quick thing I actually just realized, just to confirm with council, in the recommendation where it says existing industrial commercial, that's existing properties that are using the system, the township system currently. So there are some industrial commercial properties that do not use our system. They exist, but these are ones that are using our curbside system currently. So to that, to start with a little bit of background. So during the current extended producer responsibility transition period, that's the period that we're in currently, blue box waste from industrial, commercial, and institutional properties. Now, I'm going to, as to not say it over and over and over again, I'm going to refer to it as ICI. In the past, we've also called it non-eligible source material, or NSEM. I'm going to try to stick to ICI. During this time, the regulations permitted that ICI blue box material was allowed to be collected alongside residentially sourced blue box material, both at the curbside and at the landfill. As of January 1st, the regulation no longer requires Circular Materials Ontario, CMO, to collect blue box material from ICI producers at the same time. Therefore, in early 2025, township staff, along with staff from many other Renfrew County municipalities, including Arnprior, Bonnechere Valley, Horton, Laurentian Valley, McNabb, Braeside, Pembroke, Petawawa, Renfrew, put together a working group to begin discussing a cooperative agreement where we would tender, to look to put together a program to tender for curbside collection of ICI blue box waste. In late May, the Ministry of Environment announced that they were going to make proposing some changes to a couple of the regulations related to blue box material. And during that announcement, they provided direction to Circular Materials Ontario that said that they need to begin to plan immediately for how they will continue to offer small ICI services to municipalities in 2026 and beyond. So the township staff started down the route of planning this ourselves, and then the Ministry of Environment said, actually, we're going to make CMO do it. So we stopped our planning. And then later in the summer, the Ministry of Environment basically found out that they didn't have the legal ability to require CMO to undertake that collection. So in September, CMO came back and announced that they would not offer the blue box collection services to municipalities despite the direction from the minister. And on October 1st, the minister confirmed that direction, that they were not required to do so. So following those back and forth announcements, staff picked up back with the Renfrew County municipalities in October to begin again organizing a collection program. Unfortunately, now at this point in time, it's quite late in the year, and the potential to fully tender this is no longer an option. So what the group decided that the best course of action would be to ensure that we had something available for January 1st was to contact Miller Waste Systems, who is many of the municipalities in this area, the waste collector for garbage. They are also the contractor that is doing the residential portion of recycling for this area, for this entire region. So they're the ones doing recycling. We reached out and they said, yes, we can give you some pricing. So over the last month, Miller has been diligently working away to put together basically a proposal for us. And this past Friday, on the 28th,
Sorry.
sorry.
I'm just going to pause you for a second, just because it
sure.
is a very detailed report
Yeah.
when we get through it. And I just want to make sure if there is public that are listening, and that they understand in plain language what this all meant, what you just described to us. So essentially, and correct me if I say this wrong, we're at the point now was the producers are taking over the responsibility for recycling. We said to them, no, we need to do it more than just residential. You need to include the commercial stops that are intermingled on all the existing routes that we would normally do pickups at. We got the province to agree that was important. They said, let's have them pick up at the commercial stops, and the province thought they had the problem solved, which meant you guys stopped finding an alternate solution. The province came back and said, oh, legally we can't direct them to do this. So we're currently in a situation where we have arrangements through PRO to pick up all of the residential recycling that exists in Whitewater region and keep it out of our landfill. We have nothing in place for 1st of January to pick up at any other non-residential stop. Good? Superintendent Nicholson, I'm on track?
That's exactly it,
Okay,
yeah.
so you're gonna now go through us with how do we fix this problem?
Yes.
Okay, floor is back to you.
Thank you. So as the mayor mentioned, at this point, we have been in touch with Miller Waste Systems to see if they had the capacity and the want to provide this a service, a curbside blue box collection service to our existing ICI customers. And Miller's advised us that the most cost-effective way to do so would be to do it with our neighbors. And that the more stops that we can put on this ICI run, the lower the price point will be for that. And as such, they came back with a quote for us in the amount of, it's $675 per stop per week, which comes out to $687 per stop per week with net HST, the non-refundable HST portion. So that basically that's the cost for the trucks to go and just do the collection essentially on the same schedule that they're on currently. So right now you basically get weekly collection. The truck goes to a stop 52 times a year. So this cost, $46,075 is the annual cost, inclusive of non-refundable HST. And that's just for the collection. That's for them to drive up and pick up the bins and haul it to the recycling facility. For comparison, prior to the start of all of this extended producer responsibility stuff, the township was paying a per stop price of $1.66. So you can see $1.66 up to $6.87. That difference in price represented the significant loss of economies of scale that the township had by offering the residential and the ICI collection together. So this price point of $6.87, that's the economy of scale with all of the ICI stops in basically in the county that have curbside collection now. And one thing to note, this program is the same size of collection as you as a resident gets. So it's blue bins, it's the 360 liter totes, it's that size. We're not talking dumpsters, we're not talking roll-off bins. This is curbside collection, and this is what this will offer. So in addition to the costs that Miller has provided us for the collection, there will also be tipping fees that would be paid to the disposal facility. So Miller Waste has confirmed that blue box material that will be collected from Whitewater region would go to the Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery Centre. That is assuming that the 3 partner municipalities in Pembroke, Petawawa, and Laurentian Valley, that's who we be sort of paired up with. The Arnprior, McNabb, Braeside, Horton townships, they would be together and they would be going to the Mterra facility in Renfrew. But the tipping fees are expected to be the same. So staff have reached out to Mterra, which is the operator of both the Renfrew facility and now the leaser and operator, leasee and operator of the Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery Centre. That's now run by Mterra since basically last January. So currently we're paying approximately $96 a ton for disposal of our blue box material there. Actually, that was prior to the EPR transition. Currently, under CMO, Circular Materials Ontario, we're paying $200 per ton. We have in the last day received some information from Miller via Mterra that the tonnage rate is going to be approximately $150 per ton for plastic, glass, metal, and they will receive OCC, which is cardboard, and fiber at no charge. So the estimates that I've provided in this report were between $4,800 and $10,000 for those tipping fees. So now we know it's going to be about $7,500. I also received some information that the collection will occur likely on a single day. Most of the group has agreed that Friday makes the most sense from everybody's collection schedules to avoid holidays, to help make it a little more obvious to the person doing the collection that this set out is the ICI material and it's not being mixed with the residential material. We actually do really want to keep those separate because we don't want to be paying the residential tonnage. We don't want that material to get into our system. So we've provided 2 options. The first being that we established this ICI curbside collection program with Miller and disposal at the Mterra facility. The total cost coming in at approximately $56,088, including non-refundable HST each year. This price, is dependent on all of the municipalities participating. As of 11:30 this morning, the word that I hear from everybody is that all the municipalities are in, and in the next 2 weeks, up basically December 16th, is when everybody expects to get answers back from their councils on whether it's a go. So again, the intention here is getting approval from each councils, and then that'll solidify the pricing for us. If somebody drops out, it may increase the price a little bit, but it sounds, as of this morning, that everybody's in. The second option would be to terminate curbside blue box collection, and it should be noted that if we did opt to do that, the landfill would be expected to see an increase in traffic. And we did see an increase in both blue box material being brought to the landfill and recycled, but likely also see increases in that material being hidden in garbage, essentially, and being landfilled. We'd also likely see tonnages at the curbside go up because the convenience aspect of curbside collection will be gone, so it's likely to make it into the garbage bag instead of the blue box. So if option 2 is selected, staff are strongly recommending that we include a waste bylaw that requires that all ICI locations ensure that they have an alternate arrangement in place to maintain blue box recycling. As part of this bylaw, staff could consider things like clear bags so that when that garbage is ultimately picked up at the curb, that it's obvious if blue box material is not making it into the bag. Again, that is something to be discussed if that's the option we go. But currently, staff are recommending option 1, the establishment of, or the continuation really, of the curbside collection program. So the second piece of this to discuss, and I know it's a lot, is the landfill blue box depot. So the township was offered a 1-year extension agreement by CMO to fund the blue box landfill depot for the residential portion of blue box material. And further to that, they've been funding it this year for all 3,500 residential households. They've changed that number to a magic number of 573. It doesn't really line up with anything in truth. Their reasoning for that number change was that this is the number of residents that are not serviced curbside, which is in fact not true. All 100% of our residential and multi-residential households are serviced curbside. The reason for this is they had some interpretation differences on what the regulation says. That has been clarified with the ministry's changes in September. But what it meant is they had identified these 573 locations as using the landfill depot currently. So they're going to fund it. So they know about this error. However, they have stated that since they have offered us this contract, they will honor it this year. So that means that they're going to fund the landfill in the amount of $26,912 for 12 full months. So this is great. This is money that that will help fund the landfill this year. We've been told to not expect that money next year. So, so the township has in the last year is permitted to blend our blue box material now. So ICI sources, residential sources, everybody can put it into a single bin. Under the transition framework, they're now saying that they're going to allow that, but it will have repercussions on what we're responsible for at the landfill going forward. So this 573 number that I've highlighted above that they're paying for, basically they've said they will allow 40 kilograms, 40.5 kilograms for each of those 573 stops, which comes to a total of 22.98 tons. They're essentially saying, we will pay for, manage, and haul away about 23 tons of material a year for you. Anything over and above that, you are responsible for finding its way to the MRF. The good thing is, looking at our sort of monthly averages, we're really close to that now. We're about 24 tons annually. We're right smack on. So at least from the estimates that I'm looking at now, there wouldn't be a huge amount of material that we'd be responsible for. I'm envisioning that basically January through November, Circular Materials Ontario is responsible for all hauling, and then come December of 2026, that's the month that we'll essentially be responsible for. So in the report, I've included the 3 options that CMO has offered us. The first is to blend, which is at the landfill having ICI material and residential material blended. And as I mentioned, we would basically have to manage the net of that 23 tons annually. The second option is to segregate, which would be to set up separate bins specifically for ICI businesses. That is potentially an option for us. We do have some existing bins that we have out at the landfill. I am awaiting some confirmation from Miller's on whether or not they would haul them. They have earlier in the year took exception with the bins, the state of the rails for loading them onto the trucks, and they've actually gone and provided new bins that are out there at their cost for the residential collection. So once we get confirmation from Miller if they would use those bins, our old bins, or not, would make the difference between if we have to purchase new ones or can we use the existing ones. So there could be a purchase price for that. If that was to be the case, we would likely sell the old bins, and they could fetch between $1,500 and $2,000 a container. So there would be some amount to offset that. We did sell the old bins earlier last year, and they received about $2,000. So we do expect that we would get some money for those bins. And then in that case, we would just be responsible for paying for the ICI tonnage that makes it into those bins. Staff would also be responsible at the landfill for identifying who comes in if you're a business or you're a resident. That's not something they currently do now, and that would be an extra step for them to do that. The last thing would be, the option would be just to simply terminate, that we would basically put a policy out that says no more ICI customers at the landfill. I mean, that's something for us to consider. If we're going to continue, we would be continuing to potentially offer the curbside collection program. And most businesses should be able to get away with that during the week, during their normal operations. If they happened to have a larger load, basically they would be told that they should take their larger load, like if they have a trailer full, they should themselves haul it directly to Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery Centre or even Renfrew's, the MTR facility. Our understanding is that that facility will be open for private loads to be accepted, and they would be responsible to pay for the tipping fees at that point in time. So again, the three options are blend, pay the excess amount, segregate, set up new bins, or tell ICI businesses that they're no longer able to use the landfill, and then direct them to make sure that their waste goes curbside or goes to directly to the Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery Centre themselves. That was a lot. The financial implications of this. Between the collection costs for the curbside contract, and if we opted to do the blend option at the landfill, staff at this point are estimating an additional user fee of $470 per year for those 129 properties specifically. This would bring their waste user fee as a total, because they would still pay that $168 that covers the garbage collection, to $638. If the landfill option 1 to blend the residential and ICI material were eliminated, and the landfill hauling and disposal costs could be expected to be significantly more. If we didn't do curbside collection, presumably they're going to bring it to the landfill, and a very rough estimate. It's a hard one to pin down on exactly, because we don't know exactly what the tonnage would be, but staff are estimating about a $20,000 year cost to just offer ICI services at the landfill. But that one is very high level. It could be 20, it could be 30, it could be 10. It's hard to say at this point. So the question now is, does council support continuing to do curbside collection at that cost of $470 per stop? And that user fee would be essentially become a separate line item on their tax bill next to the $168. I'm losing you guys. So I will open it up to questions. I know that was a lot, and I hope I've run that one down.
Good?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna break this up into two chunks.
Okay.
We're gonna just talk about the curbside to start with. Because the landfill one, we can talk about, it doesn't affect each other directly. So just before I open it up to questions, there's 100, and I think you said 119?
129.
129.
Yes.
Can you just give council an idea of what that 129 represents? Who? Examples.
So this is mostly the small businesses that might be in the downtown area, for like the bottom level floor of the main street here. It could be if there's a business on a property in maybe a more rural area where that's just the business. In some locations where there is a home-based business, at this point, we've determined we're calling them residential. So if you have, I can't say how CMO will police that in the future, but for now, they're not on the list. This is locations where it's definitive, like maybe the property was a larger property to begin with, and they were being charged if it was a commercial and industrial business with a home, and there was clearly two separate buildings or a very separate business, and they were already being charged two. We've split it in half. So that 129 is all of the smaller businesses that would basically put a blue box out at the curbside. We do have that list, and the intention with council's endorsement today would be to immediately start letting them know that they are on the list.
So sorry, in addition to small commercial or commercial period,
Yeah.
it would include churches?
Yes.
It would include, like halls?
Yes, and that's, again, if they are receiving service now. If they weren't receiving previously, I mean, they potentially could add themselves on to if they wanted, but this is just existing service.
It doesn't include farms.
At this point, when I've identified a property with a farm that had a farmhouse, they are on the residential list.
Yep.
If it's just a farm and no house, they are on the ICI list.
Yeah, so we're talking about 129, small commercial, probably medium commercial, churches or, community buildings, I would call them, probably zoned in that manner. I'm expecting, and just to make sure we have the definitions, that large businesses like Olmsted's Home Hardware, they already have something in place, that they're not being picked up right now, so they already have something, so it would be no change to what they're probably already doing, large industrial, large commercial.
That's what we're presuming.
Yeah.
How the list was set up initially, my understanding is it's businesses that requested curbside waste collection. And that's how they essentially ended up on the original list. Yes, there are some businesses that might have dumpsters or like a larger dumpster for cardboard and those sorts of things. Those are not currently on the list. That's not who we service.
Okay, so with that, I'm going to open it up to questions. So imagine we have 500 square kilometers. There's 129 random commercial and churches spread all out in that 500 square kilometers. And the price is going from $168 to $6 plus tonnage. So, and you can imagine it. They're randomly going and picking up these 129 specific sites rather than being part of the bigger pickups. So good. Feedback and questions. So, sorry, I should start with my mover, which was Councillor Moore, and then Councillor Olmsted.
You may not like this question, and I don't know who to look at. I guess I'll look at the mayor when I say it. This was forced on us by the province. Even though not within our municipality, it's unnecessary to make this change, but we're being forced to. And I'm just wondering why it should have came from Toronto or somewhere saying why we have to do this and why we have to make all these changes where we were actually in harmony before. And now our costs are going up, our small businesses are going to be pissed, and not to mention our churches, etc. And here we are now having to make these changes, and it just sounds like a cash grab.
I'll try, and then maybe staff can back me up. So this is the result, unintended consequence of good intentions, right? So who's producing the recycling? Well, the people who are selling goods are creating all of this recycling need, right? They're packaging product. So the intention way back when was no, rather than the taxpayers paying for this, the producer should pay for it. And then when you buy the product, you're basically paying for it to be recycled in this system. Then they created the system, and this is what's happened. So in an odd way, we've asked for it, and now we're getting it. I agree, though. In a rural setting like ours, this does not make any sense at all. Okay, any other comments before I go to Councillor Olmsted?
Just one final one. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And here we are, we're stuck in the middle, and it's going to cost our residents and our taxpayers and our churches a lot more money than they have bargained for. And this is such a short period of time to tell them that the change is coming in 30 days.
Thank you. Councillor Olmsted.
Thank you. And just to Councillor Moore's comment, it's no different than our wastewater treatment plant. If you want to put in meters versus no meters, the whole thing costs so much money. It depends on how you want to split it up. But at the end of the day, we all pay for it. So you're either going to pay when your price of the product's gonna go up because the manufacturer's gonna charge more, or you're gonna pay by curbside collection. Anyway, I digress. I just want to clarify how some businesses like ours operate. So council hat off, business hat on. So we do have service for recycling. They actually come and do pickup for recycling at my business. We have the option of putting out garbage bags, I think it's 2 per, we never do. We actually have a dumpster at our site, and about once a month, we actually take our dumpster and pay for the tipping fees at the dumpster. But we do have a pickup, and we're charged the, whatever, $168 a year that I see on our bill anyway. I do know a lot of businesses our size operate the exact same way that we do, in that I won't mention businesses by name, but recycling trucks do go around and pick up. Some of them do put out their 2 bags that they're allowed, whether it's office trash or whatever they're throwing out. So they do the couple of bags and recycling, but then they also have their own, either they hire somebody to come pick up for them, or they have their own vehicle that they take out. I see them at the landfill when I'm there. So they're paying tipping fees for their business to be out there. So that's the way we operate. I would classify us in the upper middle size business, not a manufacturer like Haley Industries or these guys are, but we'd be in the medium to upper size. Again, with my business hat on, the option, I think you've done a fantastic job of spelling out the different options and what's available. It's an absolute no-brainer from a business person to select the additional $400 some to keep the current system, more or less keep the current system going as it is. As you can imagine, 129 vehicles heading to a waste facility, all bringing their recycling. Not to mention how much of that is not going to go to recycling. It's going to go in. My guys would just throw it in the dumpster. It's cardboard and whatever else. My dumpster is going to be full of stuff that shouldn't be going to the landfill. So business hat on, I think that's a great idea, and it would make the right thing. Councillor hat on, I'd like to see as much stuff getting recycled as humanly possible to protect our landfill the way it is now. And I think that's a great option. For the price increase, it's for businesses of our side, it's very nominal. It had cost me 10 times that much to set up our own system to go and try to figure it out, and then I'm paying employees to drive and trucks and fuel, and so for the nominal increase in fees, it's an absolute no-brainer to select that. And if you have any questions regarding how, or more details of understanding how the average business would operate, I could give you perspective from on our size. Like some of the people down Main Street and whatever, I can't tell you that would be a nominal increase. I don't know their finances, so a $470 increase a year may be substantial for them. I don't know. But from my hat, I think that's a great option to have. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Other comments or questions from council? Yeah, Councillor Trim.
Yes, and further, Mr. Mayor, to your comments, I'm reminded that when initially this announcement came to us, it was a very good news story. It enabled us, coincidentally, to actually buy a $1 million compactor without actually having to raise our budget. So the money we were saving on the Blue Box program, as it initially was presented to us, was going to allow us to do this over, I believe it's 10 years or whatever. And so it is very, very good news in one sense, but as our mayor has pointed out, there was this unintended consequence, and it may be, as Councillor Olmsted pointed out, you know, there are certain costs of doing business, I guess, but when he mentions downtown Cobden, I'm reminded also that the utility bills are very high, and this is just another increase to for them to try to navigate. And so, you know, I can see the problems here. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good, thanks, Councillor Trim. Any other members of council? Yeah, Councillor Bell.
Yeah, and just further to that point as well, as far as the increase for certain businesses, probably not a whole lot, but when you look at the churches that were mentioned, any of these community centers, like, they operate on tight budgets as it is, so yeah, $400 or $500 doesn't seem like a whole lot, but I know in some cases it probably is. And then the other thing is, you've got a number of taxpayers that already pay residential taxes here in the township that are then paying for their business taxes. This is essentially just another tax on top of the taxes that they're already paying. Just thinking, yeah, again, I guess I won't mention the business by name, but no one individual who lives in Whitewater, operates his business in Whitewater, would pay taxes on both those properties, on multiple different properties, plus, and then is just looking at another $500 tax increase. So maybe it's inevitable. It probably does make the most sense, but just being cognizant of those increases for those individuals, it's not a good situation.
Good. Anything else, Councillor Bell? Any other members of council? I'm just because we're staying with the collection, the curbside collection point here. The thing that popped in my mind was, you know, we had the option, if I remember back 18 months ago, where we could decide to do the pickup ourselves. Is that correct?
So I can actually comment on that. That's the situation that Eganville, Bonnechere Valley is in. They have their own trucks. So they are basically operating as a subcontractor to Miller to deliver their services. However, they have chosen, at least as of this morning, to become part of this curbside program, to have Miller deliver it on their behalf separately. So yes, but we would have need to have owned our own trucks to actually deliver that. And we would operate as a subcontractor.
So when I take a look at the total number of stops, so say there's 3,000 stops that are being done by Miller under the picking up residential. And then we have 129 stops being done specifically for our commercial and our churches, our non-residential areas. This is going to cost about less than $2 a pickup. This is costing $7 a pickup plus tonnage. If we just said, okay, we're going to do both of these at some future point, could you blend that? No.
That's not allowed. That's the reason why I think Eganville has gone the route of keeping it separate. So if you are CMO's contractor, they will not allow the co-collection of ICI and residential together. You could theoretically, if your collection was Monday to Thursday, as long as you collected the ICI on Friday and never touched any residential, they would allow it. But they don't allow it. You can't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 collections. You'd have to go 1, 2, 4, and then come back a different day and go.
Yeah. Okay.
It's messy.
And the challenge is we have zero flexibility in this. It's implementing 1st of January. Yeah. So Councillor Olmsted, back to you.
Sorry, and I shouldn't assume, but I am going to assume that the IC&I rate, that's still on the current schedule of a 26-week pickup?
Alternating weekly connection, so collection. The intention is, yes, 1 week you get cardboard, the next week you get plastic, glass, metal. As it sounds, as of this morning, we will be on the same schedule as the residents, but it might be on a different day. So say that your business got plastic, glass, metal collection on Mondays, you'll now be getting plastic, glass, metal collection potentially on Fridays.
So it's still the exact
week.
same, so it's a 52-week pickup then?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Manager of Public Works.
So I just make a few clarifications. The only thing may be different, and Deanna can correct me wrong. Say if your garbage collection and currently right now your recycling collection is say on a Wednesday, it could be change going forward that your garbage collection will remain on your regular day, but your recycling could be on a different day.
Yeah.
It's one change that could happen. So likely we would have a separate schedule for all the ice and I customers, showing that difference. So we live different than the residential. The only thing I'd like to note is the original Blue Box program, when it was introduced in 1991, was for residential. It didn't include commercial. The one, like Dan had mentioned, is that with economy of scale, we included all of the IC&I. So Dan's done a great job in talking to all and like leading all the neighboring municipalities to gather economy of scale. So we only have 129. I think in total we have how many municipalities neighboring? Is it 8?
8 or 9, but the total number of stops, I'm just trying to find my list, and it's closed. It was around 1,300 stops. 1,310 plus about 1,410 because Horton and Eganville signed on this morning. So the economy of scale went from the entire valley's worth of stops to 1,400.
So that's one.
But it's better than an individual getting an individual,
Yeah.
right?
So and talking to the contractor, the more municipalities, they potentially could lower the cost down because it's more economy of scale. So that's one good positive working with your neighbors. Just to add a note, it is unfortunate that we only have 2 weeks before to make a decision whether you're going to have curbside collection or not. What council decides. And as you recall, as Councillor Trim mentioned, that it was good news story that it was going to be that the minister for MSTP said that it was going to be in, and it turned out last minute that no, it's not going to be collected. The one good thing that AMO is continuing as of last week, they are continuing the push for the province to reconsider. That they're disappointed in their decision from the pros in the province, and they're still advocating to include IC&I, because the one point is switching it from ultimately, as Councillor Olmsted said, that we're ultimately the user buying the product is paying for that recycling of it. So if you buy a bit, like say buy a piece of paper or a pop can, in theory that if you're residents, you're paying for that waste being paid, so you don't have to pay it at the end. But that business is paying for that disposal and also paying for at the end too. So you kind of get double. So that hasn't really been thought out, I don't think, fully. Yeah, thank you.
Good, so I'm just gonna go back, the question here, and I think Councillor Olmsted was one who brought it up, we need to keep the recycling out of the landfills. We need to offer a service. So the question to council in item number 1 is, are we providing curbside pickup to the ICI? We're not, they don't have an option to opt out. It's being charged to these 129 addresses, the total cost divided by 129. That's essentially what item 1 is proposing. Good. Okay, with that, let's talk about item number 2 here, which is the landfill recycling depot, which is if you've been there, it's a bunch of containers and you just climb up and throw your stuff in yourself. A number of options that were presented by staff, including whether we sort it there, do we what's the best logistics for it? Does anybody have any questions or comments on that? Yeah, Councillor Moore.
If we continue with supporting that, then what does this mean for time-wise for our people at the landfill if it has to be sorted before it's picked up, et cetera? I'm just wondering at that, if it's worth it in the long run.
I'm sorry, I think I missed that.
How much time is it going to take for our staff to monitor the recycle coming in and what isn't recycle and what people are putting in and think it's recycle and it's not? And if we ship this off, at some point, we're going to get billed back, I would think, for non-recyclable containers.
So staff currently monitor the bins as to the best of their abilities. People do strange things and put things in there when they're giant things say recycling only. So from that perspective, it doesn't change. What could potentially change would be whether or not we're telling customer A, you go to that bin, and customer B, because you're commercial, you go to that bin, and identifying that. So there could be an extra bit of time basically adding to their spiel when they're on the scales, telling them where to go and which places they sort to. So that would be one more thing. It's not horrendously, other provinces that have similar systems do have segregated landfills. But it's just a matter of whether or not I'm looking at it, whether or not the blend option is really going to cost us so much more to warrant going to the extra effort to have staff making people go to different locations versus seeing how it goes for the first year and kind of playing it out, especially knowing that funding might change next year. So it's kind of a question.
Okay, does that?
Is that something we can agree now on 1, 2, or 3 here today, but then in future council is going to have to deal with this because the money's being cut off next year at the end of the year, and maybe it'll become to council again as to whether even support recycling at the landfill, et cetera, whatever the
It's going to have to be
whatever the course may
a
be.
reassessment. You're exactly
So yeah,
right.
right now I think today we should just accept 1, 2, or 3, decide what we're doing, and then the rest can go to the new council.
Perfect. Any other comments on the landfill? Councillor Umstead.
Yeah, so I'm at our landfill, the guys see me like every Saturday. Mostly because I want to see what's going on, I want to understand it, and because personally where I live, I don't like the truck stopping halfway up a hill on a bad corner, so I like to take my recycling in over to the landfill, and it's only ever recycling that I bring. I can tell you that those bins are used almost as much as our landfill. So with the lineups to use the bins from a residential standpoint are almost as busy as people actually using the landfill portion of dumping and brush and that kind of stuff. So it is very much in use. So if you're thinking in your mind that no, everybody's using the curbside pickup and that, while that's true, there is a ton, bad word, there's a pile of people actually driving to the landfill to use recycling. Not that makes here and there, but my fear of not providing that service is, again, where is that product going to end up? Probably over in the landfill. So I think, as Councillor Moore suggested, I think it's wise to let's see how it goes for a year and reevaluate at the end of the year. My biggest fear is that our landfill, all the projections you gave of the years of use of landfill and buying a compactor and that is going to go out the window if we make a poor decision here today. Thank you.
Any other comments? So I'm just going to try to summarize the comments then. At the landfill, we recognize the need that we want to keep the stuff out of the landfill, recycling in the containers. Do we need to spend a whole bunch of money buying 2 different sets of containers and trying to track it with staff as to customer A here, customer B there? We blend them together to start with, and in the future re-examine based on tonnages and the agreements in the future with Pro. Is that pretty much what everybody's concurring with at this point in time? I'm getting nods. Good, and if there's no other questions, then the only other thing is that you talked about sending the letter out, and is that in the report? Do you need council's direction to do that? Is that automatic based on the resolution?
Assuming that council says yes to the curbside, I think that's the primary one. As soon as I have that sort of direction, that would be when I would get on getting the letters out.
But you don't need our executive to issue the letters? Perfect. Good. We'll take that as a no.
Okay.
It's good. I only bring it up, you mentioned it. So the clerk has just asked for us to include a third recommendation here. And I think I'm going to take it as a friendly amendment if the mover and the seconder will agree. And authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the necessary documents. So Councillor Moore is the mover, you're good. Seconder, Councillor Olmsted, you're good. No objections from anyone else. We're good. Good. Last question is we can table this item if council wants more time to think about it. You're prepared to make your decision today? Good. Okay, excellent. And with that, if there's no final questions or comment, yeah, Councillor Bell?
I was just wondering, I was just doing some quick math that I hope is right here, but the 129 properties are going to be charged the $470 extra per year as a user fee. Was there any consideration as to just dividing that up across the entire township as in addition to the regular curbside collection fee that is paid? Because I'm looking now, we have roughly 3,000 properties that pay taxes in the township. For these 129, for that 56,000, it comes out to like 60,000 for the $470. You spread that out throughout the entire township and it comes to an extra $20 per resident, roughly. Was that ever a consideration as a means of the township as a whole supporting our small businesses and our community organizations that because it's a lot of our community. You think of a church, the Whitewater church over here on the corner, there's a few hundred people that utilize that building every day, and then it's up to the admin to cover those costs. Was that a consideration? Is that something that could be considered? Just throwing out an idea there.
We hadn't, and actually curious to know if you would be thinking that you would put those costs into the waste management fee, which is currently 168, so raising that, or are you talking putting those costs into general taxation being levy? I think maybe that's Curtis.
Sorry, I can add for me. So we did yes and no look at the cost. We currently have a user pay. We've taken out back in 2020. We've taken it out of the levy and taxation and put it to a user pay system. So as staff presented this, that we would create a new user fee, one for residential, one for IC&I cost for this. Just speaking, yeah, it's a very good concept. If we add it on, it would reduce the overall cost for for IC&I, but it would add it on to all the residents. Just speaking with our colleagues in neighboring municipalities, any municipality that had that was on a same as us, a user fee system for waste management, their staff are proposing to their council to add it as a separate fee.
So I believe it was 7 of the 9 were stated that they would do it as a separate user fee just for the ICI. There was 2. One, Renfrew was under general taxation, all of their waste management stuff, and Eganville had a special area charge, so it was sort of general taxation, if that helps.
Good, thank you. I'll go to Councillor Trim. It's good discussion.
There's some good reason for Councillor Bell's comments, because when I attended a session at AMO this summer, the minister stated that they had never paid for the industrial commercial recycling. It always was the municipalities, and so, he seemed to think that they're not going to start now because they never did before. I didn't really quite understand the whole argument, but because I didn't know how things were billed and whatnot. But he did state that. And so up until now, it seems that we've been doing it, not the ministry, with their half. I'm just bringing it up because I heard that. I hope I didn't misunderstand, but it does sort of support the comment that Councillor Bell just made. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Instigate any, yes, Councillor Moore?
I just don't know if that's legal, if we can actually take private commercial and put it in with the residential. I would be in favor of it, definitely, especially for the small businesses and the small churches that are having a hard time. But I don't know who to ask, maybe the clerk treasurer, if that's actually legal, if we could actually take that up. As a council, can we do that?
Treasurer, can you make a comment, please?
I don't have an answer for that. Going that way, I just know that through the calculation, yes, Mark is close. My back math looks about $12. So the piece would be the question as to whether it's based on all taxation, which then it's an even smaller increase to everyone, or whether it's based on the actual people who are the residential ICI or residential curbside collection users. I believe it was 3,700.
Yeah, 3,700.
Yeah, so it works out to be about $12 added to the 168, so right there it'd bring you to 180. But that would be the question. I'd have to look deeper into the allowance to be able to add that on. It is a service that's provided, and it is a service that residents use of the business, but it's just, I guess, more of council's decision as to whether they want to pass that directly on to the business and then still pay the business for their service, or whether they want to just have that as the business recoups that through the increase of their costs of the services they're providing. Again, that's part I'd have to look into what our legal abilities are.
Okay, so just to grab onto this, sorry, Councillor Tram, I'm going to hold your question for a moment. If we were to give direction to staff to go away, give us these three options, and we're talking specifically about collecting on the curbside, to come back with, the option of user pay specific to the 129, general taxation, or a user pay across all users. To come back and we could make a final decision on this at Monday's special meeting. And that would give staff a chance to go back, run the numbers, confirm that there's no legislative restrictions on that proposal. Councillor Bell, is that something you'd like to propose or move?
Yeah, I'd like to move that if possible.
Okay, so we'll take it as a motion to table the decision until Monday. Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Olmsted. Okay, and it's debatable? Yes? Is there any comments on, sorry, I'm going to go to members of council first, and then I'll come to staff. Is there any other comments from members of council on this motion to table till Monday? No? Okay. Manager of Public Works? Oh, sorry, Councillor Olmsted?
So I just want to understand, math guy, I want to understand, so we have approximately 3,500 based on 2021 now, 3,500 collections?
It's about 37 now.
Okay, 37, and 129 ICIs.
So 3,700 total,
Including the ICIs?
including the ICIs.
Gotcha, okay. Okay. Yeah, and quick math, that's like about a $17 increase. So for 168 to like 185, which, yeah, fantastic proposal by Councillor Bell.
Yeah.
I got a whole bunch of other thoughts, but I'm going to save them for Monday.
Good, and it'll give it time for the juices to soak. Good, Councillor Trim, and then I'll come.
Mr. Mayor, just a brief comment. This seems to me to compare, in my mind, to the way streetlights are considered. How we all share that because We all kind of, even though we might not live under a street light, we need to use them from time to time. And the businesses, we're using them too, our own businesses. So I can see how that would make sense that way. And so it might even be able to be shared among all of our residents. But our treasurer said he would look into it, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good, no other comments? I'll go to Manager Public Works.
So, yeah, and I guess like the recommendation is, it's more about either if we're offering the curbside collection for ISI or not, either we're going to terminate or continue. I think through the budget process, we could determine if the 168 if we're creating 2 user fees through the user fee bylaws through the budget, if we're going to create 2 or keep it 1, but raise the current waste management from 168 to say whatever it is, 190 or whatever the addition is, or if we're going to create 2. I think at that period, we would know, like through the budget process, we would know what the actual cost is, and we can provide council with the 2 options. Yeah, and I guess what staff need direction is if council wants to continue with curbside collection for ICNI, yes or no, so we can tell our neighboring municipalities if we're going to join them in that.
Yeah, so that we don't need to postpone or table the resolution is what you're saying.
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
Unless clerk or the CAO.
And then just take it as CAO?
Yeah, when you were referring to the proposed change, my suggestion was we decide whether we're doing it and how we fund it as part of the budget deliberations.
Yeah.
Essentially,
yeah.
yeah.
So I'll go back to my mover and seconder for the postponement. Councillor Bell and Councillor Olmsted, you're okay to withdraw that? Yes?
I want to understand so we're going to decide the delivery method today, and we'll decide Monday how to
recover the cost, how to pay for it.
Can I ask a question about the cost recovery? As one of the options on Monday, can we look at, I think all taxpayers are paying the 3,700 people are paying the 168.
Yes.
Can one of the options be to just simply add that back to taxation?
Yes. Three
Okay.
options: taxation, all 3,700, or
Great.
just the 129.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to take that as,
The only thing I want to note is that those 3,700 are properties with buildings.
yes.
There are additional properties that would be under general taxation that don't currently pay the 168.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One's broad, everybody pays, like a road. The other one, yeah, so we're good. So I'm good, I got nods. We're withdrawing the motion. So the motion on the floor remains with the friendly amendment included is basically, we agree that we're gonna curbside pickup ICI, and 2, we're gonna do the blend option at the landfill. And you're authorizing the clerk and I to execute the necessary documents. Monday, as part of the budgeting process, the CAO and staff will come back with how to fund this decision. Fair? That was a good discussion. I appreciate everybody's patience through it. It's an important one. It's going to impact the community, and worthy of our attention. Okay, there's nothing else. We're going to call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's unanimous. Thank you.
Did we decide on the landfill?
Yes,
Okay.
blended. So your resolution stays except for the friendly addition. Good? Okay, do we need a break or can I keep going? Good? Item number 10 on the agenda is notices of motion. I'm looking for any member of council that wishes to have a notice of motion. Yes, Councillor White.
I would like to add a notice of motion regarding transportation.
Can you offer any other insight into transportation? Like,
Yes, it's been over a year since I've asked for a report to come back regarding when roads and how roads were changed from winter maintenance to no maintenance at all. It was supposed to come in with the transportation report, but the report hasn't come, so I'm looking for that sooner rather than later.
was it a previous notice of motion or was it?
No, I was asked not to put it in because there was a transportation report coming that would include that information, but it's been more than a year now, and there has been no transportation report with that answer.
Okay, I'm going to ask that, we'll note it here, and if necessary, a motion will come at the next meeting. I'll just ask you to liaise with the CAO, we'll confirm exactly what the definition of that is and what's outstanding. Thank you. Good. Anyone else? You have a notice, please.
You're tracking that earlier motion regarding the Land Acknowledgement Act? Great, thank you.
Councillor Olmsted, notice of motion on the land acknowledgement. Any other notices? Okay, excellent. I just see two then. We have Councillor White's and Councillor Olmsted's. Correspondence. We have a number of, no items requiring direction. We have 5 items for information. The first one is a letter addressed to the mayor and council on the Cobden Water Treatment Plant. And I'm going to ask the CAO to speak on this one.
Yeah, thanks so much. So what we have before us is correspondence from Donald Deere in relation to the Cobden Wastewater Treatment Plant. At the discretion of council, you're welcome to ask any questions or bring any insight, but I would caution the discussion around the matters of our current legal proceedings around the contracts. So what I would, again, glad to take any questions or comments, but recognizing there's that legal parameter. But certainly, what I would suggest is that at the discretion of council, again, that any correspondence relating to the treatment plant be directed to the CAO for response. So here we have a correspondence coming on a council agenda. What I would suggest is that direction from council be provided to the CAO to receive these correspondences and provide responses to the residents or whomever public agency is providing questions or comments. It allows for consistent messaging, ensures that all confidentiality to protect sort of our legal interest is considered, and our publications and updates are all consistent when we're providing that to the public. So glad to take any questions or comments, and at the discretion of council, if you want to give direction, by all means, it's up to you. Thanks.
Good. Any comments from members of council? Are we good with directing the CAO to execute that, to respond on behalf? Noting that because of the confidentiality surrounding the Cobden Wastewater Treatment Plant, legal implications, we want to make sure that that messaging is single source and dealt with, not to our detriment. Good, okay, direction to CAO, thank you. Next item is Protecting Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act, Bill 17, and it has some implications from a municipal perspective. CAO, can you speak to those?
Yeah, I think you referenced earlier our procurement policy, and the province has just passed new regulations or legislations around procuring in Ontario or procuring in Canada, and it's hard to keep up to date with all of these provincial changes and how they affect our local municipalities. With respect to this one, it's more related to land use planning, trying to build more and more housing. We have our planner, Mackenzie Baird, who I've put in contact with a planner at the provincial, with the provincial ministry, Municipal Affairs and Housing, to just try to decipher our need to change our policies to reflect what's being adopted provincially, or whether or not the provincial legislation just overrides any of our zoning bylaws and official plans. So we're investigating that now, and any amendments to our documents will come at a later date. Thanks.
Good, I see no questions. I'm going to move on to item number C, which is the auto extrication services. This letter is addressed to myself. We brought it to council. Head Clara Mariah does not have services, auto extrication services on Highway 17. They're approximately half of their portion of Highway 17, and are asking for Whitewater to consider potentially offering those services. And I'll remind you that those services are reimbursed by MTO. Initial discussions with the fire chief have indicated that this may be something that he could offer as a potential service, subject to council's deliberation. And I've asked Councillor White if she would consider putting something on the floor specific to this item.
Yes, whereas the United Townships of HCM have requested assistance to secure auto extrication services for the section of Highway 17 between Duvernay Riviere and McKay, and whereas it's important for the Township of Whitewater Region to understand the scope of the request, potential service implications, and any operational or financial considerations involved, therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Whitewater Region directs staff to engage with the Township regarding its request for auto extrication services, and further be it resolved that staff report back to council with findings, options, and any recommended next steps. I so move.
Good. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Bell. Any discussion? Yeah, Councillor Moore.
After my first time reading this and having 34 years in the fire service locally, I'm a little confused as to why we're being asked to provide protection when there's 3 other extrication units between us and them. I find it funny that they're coming all the way down the valley to us.
Yeah, they've been declining the service from the other 3.
Well, I really think it has to be a real hard discussion on this council if we want to rip and tear our vehicles going up Highway 17, you know, an hour and 20 minutes minimum to where they are, not to mention how farther they are. It could be an hour and 3/4. And if I was waiting in the car to be cut out, that's a lot of work to, that's a lot to expect our firefighters, especially at 1 o'clock in the morning, to have a 2-hour drive and a 2-hour drive back and then go to work. I don't agree with it.
Good. Is there any other comments? Yeah, Councillor Trim.
And further to that, I'm concerned that it may leave us here without service because they're away for that length of time. So, I'm in the motion. It's very clear that everyone concerned is going to have a good discussion about this and costs and everything else. But that part, along with Councillor Moore's comments, I wonder about our own service then. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good. Other comments or questions? Yes, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Yeah, no, and it was exactly what I was thinking as well, and both of you have both brought that forward, because when I'm looking at this, we have to think of our members, our firefighters, and what that can mean for them, traveling that distance, just as Councillor Trim had mentioned. We can have this discussion, but I can tell you where I'm sitting with it right now, but we'll have the discussion later. But thank you.
I just want to make sure everybody has a chance to speak before I offer any input. That's good. Everybody is fair. I would start off by saying I couldn't agree more that there are implications with this. What I would like, and the motion has been worded to the effect that it is really an opportunity to dig into this. The bottom line is, in the bigger picture, the service needs to be provided on Highway 17 for the people that are driving on Highway 17. Who provides that service? My hope is that part of this discussion and the people that the chief is going to have to talk to is going to make it very obvious who should be providing that service. Could we do it? Oh, maybe. Are there implications? You bet there's implications. But I've talked to the chief. He believes that this is something that we need to discuss and we need to get sorted out as a region, not necessarily a Whitewater solution, but we need to get the discussion going. So, like I said, the motion is worded just to the effect that it is basically a staff check that will involve him speaking to all these different users. No final decision will be taken before it comes back to council. Is there any additional feedback from anyone else? Yes, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. And as part of this discussion, I'm wondering if there is any way we could find out from the neighboring municipalities why it's coming forward. Has there been something that's happened? What's going on? So if we could have part of that, as part of that discussion, why is this coming now? If we could...
Sorry, and I can offer the paramedics are arriving on scene and they can't get the people out of the vehicles. So they've asked Head Clara Mariah to find them a solution, and this is one of the avenues that they've taken. So it is about trying to service that need.
Thank you, and if I may, can I just come back to why Deep River, Petawawa, like, why is that? And if we could just find out why. What's gone on, what's happened, there's something that's driving this, and I don't know what it is, and I think we need to know that. Thank you.
That's perfect, Deputy Mayor. Can we add that staff direction, please? That's fair. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other input? Good. We'll call for a vote then. All those in favor? Any opposed? Good. One opposed. Carried. Excellent. Next item is Ottawa Valley Affordable Housing Incorporated. This is an introductory letter. This is a new not-for-profit corporation that's been stood up to help facilitate affordable housing construction in the county of Renfrew. So if there's any questions, comments from folks. And the last one is a Deep River and Laurentian Hills resolution in support of the Canadians for Can Do movement. This is a motion that was put, a resolution that was passed by Deep River. You can see it was also supported by Laurentian Hills. It was added to the agenda to see if there was any council initiative to provide a similar support in terms of a resolution. Is there any member of council that might consider supporting this resolution at this time? Good. Okay. Next, we will move to announcements. Number 12. And I'll start with the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mayor. This was put on my desk, so I'm reading it, and I don't know who it's from, so bear with me, but I am reading it. I am pleased to announce that following an interview process conducted by Councillor Moore, Councillor Trim, Deputy Mayor Regier, CAO Burton, Amanda Nesbitt from the county, and Manager Lane Claroux, Andrew McLeese has been selected for the position of Road Superintendent. Andrew will officially assume his new role on December the 1st. Andrew has been a valued member of the Township team since November 2019 and has recently served as acting road superintendent for the past 26 weeks. Accordingly, he has been the team lead at the Westmeath Garage during recent winter seasons. He has successfully completed several professional development courses and certifications in the public works field, and that is including the TJ Mahoney Road School construction and maintenance courses, the Ontario Good Roads Effective Management, Superior Due Diligence, and Summer and Winter Road Patroller. I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to the Public Works staff for their dedication and hard work throughout a successful, productive, and challenging year. Despite operating with limited staff. Additionally, I want to recognize Steve Pekarski, Braden Mayotte, Andrew McLeese, and Nathan Tubby for stepping up and providing leadership support to the Public Works team during this time. Please join me in congratulating Andrew on this well-deserved achievement. And I will bring that on behalf of all of council. So thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Bell, any announcements?
Nothing for me.
Councillor Tabbert?
I just have one. On Saturday, the 13th of December, there was Christmas in Haley's from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Haley Station Firefighters Association is having photos with Santa, Mr. Chris and Fran's hot chocolate raffle and bake table and a bunch of other things for the children to enjoy. Thank you.
And Councillor Moore?
Nothing to add, thank you.
Councillor
Was there?
Beachburg Parade.
Oh, sorry, yes. Beachburg Parade this Saturday and Westmeath Parade on Sunday. Hope you can all attend. Thank you.
Councillor Trim?
Yes, just further to the Westmeath Parade, which is on Sunday indeed at 5:30. After the parade, it's only a little parade, and it's just the right length for little children. And after the parade, up in the hall, there's going to be hot dogs, cookies, and juice, which will attract not only the little parade goers, but everybody, parents included. So hopefully that you can get out to that parade and enjoy the fellowship in the hall afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Olmsted, did you have any announcements you wanted to share? Good CAO or clerk, anything that you wanted to highlight? Did we miss, is there anything on the calendar we didn't already discuss? Okay, good. I would just want to echo the Deputy Mayor's announcement. Congratulations to Drew, our new superintendent, road superintendent. We just got to find a cell number for him, so. It's like the most popular person. Good. That leads us into number 13 is bylaws. And here at 13.1, we have a number of bylaws listed on the agenda. And I'll just highlight that we are removing the first one, 2512-1793, the procedural bylaw. That will come later once we've had an opportunity to ensure that we have the exact attachment. So we are, when we talk about this recommendation, we're talking about the balance, the procurement policy, the delegation of authority policy, and of course the confirmatory bylaw. The recommendation is, be it resolved that the bylaws listed on the December 3rd agenda, less the procedural bylaw, be taken as read and passed. Mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Trim, any final comments, questions? All right, I see none. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor? That's carried unanimously. And there is no closed session today, and therefore we are adjourned at 3:55 p.m. Thank you, folks.